You're the person who shows up. When a friend's life implodes at 2 a.m., your phone is the one that rings. When a project at work is derailing, all eyes turn to you to pull it back from the brink. You are the designated emotional architect for everyone else's life. You design solutions, you build support structures, and you draft contingency plans for their happiness and security. Your mental checklist for them is immaculate. Did they get that promotion?
Are they eating properly since the breakup?
Should I check in about that weird noise their car was making? But when the camera turns to you, the page for your own life is starkly, terrifyingly blank. The architect has no blueprint for their own home. The constant hum of your own exhaustion is tuned out, dismissed as background noise. The warning lights on your own dashboard are completely ignored. You build magnificent structures for others on a foundation you refuse to inspect for yourself. So the question we have to ask is this: why is the blueprint for your own well-being always missing? If any of that felt uncomfortably familiar, you are in exactly the right place. Let's be perfectly clear about something from the start. Being a fixer, being the person who can step into chaos and create order, is a superpower. It is a rare and immensely valuable capability in a world that often feels like it's falling apart. You are competent, you are reliable, and you make things better. But that brings us to the core paradox of your existence. Why does it feel like you're constantly saving everyone else from drowning while you're holding your breath just to stay afloat? The original video on this topic did an incredible job of diagnosing this feeling. Today, we're not just exploring the why, we are mapping out the what now. We will go deeper into the psychological origin of this trait. And later in this video, we will reveal the crucial difference between being a fixer and being a people pleaser. They are not the same thing, and understanding that distinction can change everything. We will also introduce a powerful aspirational goal, the concept of the healthy helper. This isn't about stripping away your superpower. It's about learning to use it without it draining your life force. This is the next chapter in your story. To understand the fixer, we have to travel back in time, not just in your life, but in your neurology. This pattern wasn't chosen. It was forged in an environment where your needs were secondary. Imagine a child in a home filled with a quiet, simmering stress. Perhaps a parent was overwhelmed, ill, or simply emotionally absent. This child learned, with the stunning adaptive intelligence that all children possess, that expressing their own needs added a weight to an already heavy pile. To need something was to be a problem, but to solve a problem, that was to be a resource. So they became the little adult. They learned to read the emotional temperature of a room, to anticipate a parent's bad mood, to quietly clean the kitchen to prevent a fight. They learned that their safety and stability depended not on what they asked for, but on what they could manage. This adaptation was brilliant. It ensured their survival. But adaptations, once they harden, don't just disappear when the environment changes. They become the shape of your personality. But stop. Before we go any deeper, we have to draw a hard line here. Many people hear this and think it's just another flavor of people-pleasing. It is not. Here is the distinction that changes everything. A people-pleaser is driven by a fear of social rejection. Their primary goal is to be liked. They will agree when they disagree. They will say yes when they mean no, all to maintain social harmony and avoid disapproval. The fixer, however, is driven by a deep and primal fear of being incompetent or useless. Their primary goal is not to be liked, but to be capable, to be effective, to be the one who can handle it. They aren't necessarily seeking approval. They are seeking to validate their own utility. This leads to the single most important sentence for understanding this psychology. The people pleaser wants to be liked. The fixer needs to be necessary. Read that again in your mind. One is about social connection. The other is about existential validation. This is why you'll see a fixer confidently disagree with someone or state an unpopular opinion if they believe it's the correct solution to a problem. A people pleaser would find that behavior terrifying. For the fixer, being wrong is more frightening than being disliked. That distinction explains why something as simple as asking for help feels so profoundly wrong. Most conversations about this get it completely wrong. They say it's about ego, stubbornness, or pride. And while those things can be present, they are just the superficial symptoms of a much deeper issue. This isn't about ego, it's about terror. Your entire identity, that quiet internal story you run about who you are, is built on a foundation of confidence. It's built on being the one who figures it out, on not needing to make the call, on being the number that gets called. Inside that story, asking for help isn't just inconvenient, it's a narrative violation. It feels like a crack in the very foundation of your self-concept. To ask for help is to stand in front of someone and submit evidence that your entire identity might be a fraud. It's admitting that the architect doesn't know how to build, that the savior needs saving. The discomfort you feel is an allergic reaction to this identity-level threat. Consider the person who is driving lost but refuses to ask for directions. They'll circle the same block 3 times, getting increasingly frustrated, burning fuel and wasting time. Objectively, asking a pedestrian would solve the problem in 30 seconds. But the internal calculation isn't about time, it's about identity. The 5 minutes of being lost feels safer than the 30 seconds of being incompetent. This is a weight you've been carrying for so long you've forgotten you're even holding it. So here is your first piece of homework, a micro-solution you can apply today. It's not what you think. The first step isn't to force yourself to ask for help. That's like trying to bench press your body weight with no training. The first step is to simply notice the feeling of resistance when the opportunity arises and name it correctly. This feeling is an identity threat, not an ego trip. That's it. Just notice and name it. You are building awareness, which is the muscle required for any real change. The exhaustion from this pattern is immense, and you might think that is the worst part. You would be wrong. The most devastating part of this entire dynamic is not what it does to you, but what it quietly does to the people who love you. And if that last section resonated, this next layer might feel uncomfortably familiar. We are now arriving at the emotional core of the fixer's paradox. You are absolutely convinced in a deep and pre-verbal part of your soul that to need something would make you a burden. You see it as an act of taking, an imposition, a net negative on someone else's life. And yet you have spent your entire life ensuring no one else ever has to feel that way. You show up with your time, your energy, your skills, your full presence, and you would be genuinely offended if someone suggested your help was a burden. You hold a standard for yourself that you would find cruel and unacceptable to hold for anyone else. But here is the hidden cost, the part of the equation that you have never been able to see. Think of a friend or a partner who deeply loves you. They see you carrying the world on your shoulders, and they want to help. Helping is a fundamental language of love and connection. When they offer to take a piece of that weight and you say, "I've got it," you think you're being strong. But what they hear is, "I don't need you." By never needing anything, you rob the people who love you of the gift of giving. You inadvertently create a wall where they want to build a bridge. You teach them through 1,000 tiny rejections of their help that you are a fortress. And eventually, some of them stop trying to get in, not because they don't care, but because you've convinced them the doors are sealed shut. This dynamic is not a life sentence, but it's time to acknowledge the full scope of its impact. So, if the goal isn't to stop being capable, and it's not to tear down the fortress, what is it? The goal is to learn how to install a door. This is where we move from the fixer to the healthy helper. A fixer operates from a place of depletion, giving what they don't have to prove they are enough. A healthy helper operates from a place of fullness, giving from their overflow, not from their reserves. A fixer has porous boundaries, absorbing everyone else's problems as their own. A healthy helper has strong, flexible boundaries. They can offer support without taking ownership. A fixer believes their value is tied directly to their utility. The healthy helper knows their worth is inherent. They help because they can and want to, not because they have to in order to feel worthy. Most importantly, the healthy helper understands that receiving is not a weakness, but a vital part of the human ecosystem of care. Imagine a day in the life of a healthy helper. They still solve complex problems at work, but they also delegate tasks they know a team member is capable of handling. They still take the late-night call from a friend, but they might say, "I can talk for 15 minutes now, and then let's find a time for a deeper conversation tomorrow when I have more capacity." They notice they feel exhausted, and instead of pushing through, they decide to order takeout instead of cooking a complex meal. This isn't a flaw to be eliminated, but a superpower to be recalibrated. So here is your second micro-solution. Sometime this week, find one tiny, low-stakes thing to outsource or delegate. Let your partner carry the heavy grocery bag, even though you can. Let a coworker make the dinner reservation for the team outing. The point is not that you can't do it. The point is to practice the sensation of letting go. This is a rep, not a revolution. Let's bring all of this together into a practical philosophy. You've been handed a lot of simplistic advice in your life. The classic useless suggestion is to just ask for help. We now know why that feels like being told to simply grow wings and fly. The real goal is not a behavioral change, it's an identity upgrade. The goal is to update your internal operating system from "I am my utility" to "I am worthy," period. Your worth is not a function of the problems you solve or the burdens you carry. It is a fundamental constant, like gravity. This brings us to our final micro-solution, which is a simple reframe. Many fixers wake up and unconsciously ask the world, "Who or what needs me today?" It's an outward-facing scan for problems to solve. I want you to experiment with starting your day by asking a different question. Instead of asking who you can help, start by asking, "How can I be kind to myself today?" The answer might still be by helping someone, because generosity can feel good. But the answer might also be by doing nothing, by resting, or by letting someone else handle it. The key is that for the first time, you are giving yourself permission for all those answers to be equally valid. If this journey of recalibrating your identity is something you want to go deeper on, we've actually created a set of structured guides for exactly this process. They're designed for people who don't need more theory, but need practical and daily actions to shift from fixer to healthy helper. It's the very first link in the description if you want to see the blueprint for yourself. So let's bring this all home. We've journeyed from the childhood origins of your incredible competence to the painful paradoxes it creates in your adult life. We've drawn a critical line between being a fixer and a people pleaser, and we've sketched out a new destination, the healthy helper. Remember in the beginning we asked why the blueprint for your own well-being was always missing. Here is the final truth. The blueprint was never missing. It was just written in a language you were taught to ignore, the language of needs, of vulnerability, of rest. You are fluent in the language of solutions. Learning this new language won't make you forget the old one. It will simply make you bilingual. You can still be the person who fixes things. You're just also allowed to be a person who rests, who receives, and who is already whole. You're not just allowed to hand someone else the wrench, you're allowed to put it down entirely and just rest. If this video resonated with you, the best way to support the channel is to subscribe and click the bell. It tells us that these deep dives are valuable and helps us create more of them. And we'd love to hear from you in the comments. If this resonated, tell us one small step you might take this week toward being a healthy helper. Sharing your intention can be a powerful first step.